will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is probable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now?
Hello. This is the DENDAO meeting for today, October 31st, 2025. Looks like I got a duplicate going here. Pause that. There we go. My apologies, everybody. Little technical difficulties plus a scheduling snafu. There was questions between the DENDAO meeting and as well as the Meme Asylum meeting. Originally, I thought it was going to be at 12 noon today. Then it was changed to 3. Then I was told 2. I didn't want the 2 to conflict with each other. So I thought we would do them separately. And hopefully, Joe would be able to meet or join us. Again, this is a meeting. This is not a podcast or a video of any sort. It's actually a meeting for the DENDAO for Den.Social. I am, aka William, and the leader of the DAO by vote. And I had mentioned in last week's meeting that I was going to post something so that we could start talking about the rebranding and functionality of adding video and the rebranding of Den.Social into DePlatform or whatever the DAO would vote upon. And what was our vision? We need to have these discussions. We need participation from the those that are using the site and using the program. And that's what we did. I posted a question. This is for today's meeting, and that's what we will be discussing today. And by the way, if you go to the DENDAO meeting or in this video at the in the comments, you'll see the StreamYard link, and you can join the meeting. So in that posting that I said, let's discuss about the rebranding and functionality vision for Den.Social. Let's discuss. And I'm very grateful that we've had some meaningful points and discussions that have been made. Rockstar, who's been on the platform for years and is on her way to becoming a veterinarian in the country of Venezuela. She had a lot of important things to say. And I'm not going to read all of these because I already have, and they're already there posted. And what I wanted to do is just provide you kind of some summary. She says that in her opinion, it's really important for us to add video, but more importantly, even more importantly, maybe add live streaming video. And she said that it's, to her surprise, places like TikTok and Twitch actually pay fairly well for someone who barely has anything going. Now, when she says fairly well, I think that's all also relative based on, your economy. Someone within the U.S. certainly probably couldn't live on that type of income. But someone in maybe a third world country certainly could, and it would be a significant amount of income. But more importantly, her point is just that we need to move towards the modern age because everything is video and short videos and TikTok videos and Twitch. But she says we need to adapt. And if we don't adapt, then obviously the platform is going to disappear. It certainly doesn't help that the platform right now is not paying out matter. And we've talked that to death in the previous weeks. But she says, I don't think we should focus on the problems, but rather give more opportunities to change. Blessings to all. So Rockstar, thank you very much. Very good comments. By the way, Joe Dragon replied, said, great points for discussion. I happen to agree with most of what you say here. Thank you. Alaxons mentions in a comment, also very grateful, um, that what will it contribute as a new platform that doesn't already exist? So, in other words, if we're just going to rely on organic growth, that concept hasn't worked and it has been low and ridiculous. It will even be worse in the new format. Um, Before making changes, you need to have a community, growth, and development that haven't been any new features for years. I would kind of disagree that there hasn't been new features for years. There has been when you go that far out. We have done a lot, but recently we haven't, obviously, because of the SEC case and the money um, drawn from all the coffers, all the pots to pay the lawyers. But Alexon says here there are only bots and 4 people who believe that the token will make them money until they see the price, log out, and never return. Gentlemen, growth is needed to attract users who generate traffic, not those rejected by other platforms who bring nothing but conspiracies and indoctrination. So basically, non-political and people that have been rejected. In other words, the whole concept of DePlatform, I don't think Alexons is really in favor of that because they probably have smaller viewership. Joe Dragon responded to that. Okay, yes, growth is needed. How would you change the platform to make that happen? Is the question. Bring more people in right now won't do that. We need to flip the tables. Which tables do you suggest to flip and in what way? So in other words, provide some solutions rather than just talk about what's wrong. Other than, and it's a valid point, we have to have community growth and development. Otherwise, it's all for nothing, even in a new platform. And in general, Joe says, my general thoughts are we have a few directions that we could go and that would make a lot of sense, in his opinion. A governance platform, we could center on promoting DIN as a governance platform, as that it's one of our finer points that really work. And that has to do with proposals, people voting on proposals, and the system is all automated, and those proposals, make those changes. And it is a true DENDAO, function. And that is a strong suit for DIN. And is that a marketing, functionality that can be, sold to bring about revenue? I think yes. It also takes money to make money, and that we would, have to advertise. Where's those advertising dollars going to go? Is that something that can grow organically? Unfortunately, a lot of DAOs just use spreadsheets, and then people through an email say, I vote for yes or I vote no. And then those emails are tallied, or maybe they're on a Discord or something like that, and then those votes are tallied into a spreadsheet and a proposal passes, versus some kind of formal automation and allowing for maybe more anonymous voting, but more importantly, voting with ownership. So that's what DENDAO allows. If you have ownership in the platform, you can vote on proposals, and those proposals can pass or fail. Video streaming, he says, and number 2 is plus channel ownership tokenization platform. We could remap several things and work with a partner for streaming component, or use the built-in, though it needs testing, the torrent-based streaming. Okay, video streaming with ownership. That is huge. We don't really have that on Rumble. You don't have that on YouTube, and we have that capability in that, in layers, there are lots, and you have ownership in those layers. Well, what if those layers become renamed as channels, and now you have ownership in channels, and these channels that have gone stagnant because the owners have left the platform, but the channel's still there, then those could be reopened up. People could contribute, become owners in those channels, and effectively take it over by activity. Or what if someone who is like right now, YouTube people are suffering on YouTube because there are so many content creators on YouTube that they're just not getting very much money. The TikTok format, it still takes a lot of people to be able to make money on that, a lot of views, shall we say. So there's a lot of opportunity in the monetization of channels and shared ownership by the community. So when you go on YouTube or Rumble and you make a comment, that's wonderful. The ownership is grateful that you're making a comment, you're interacting with the ownership. But by making a comment, you're actually not earning any ownership in that channel. It's turning its on, that might attract a lot of people when they think, wait a minute, my fans can have an ownership stake. That's a bigger buy-in, a bigger connection, a solidifying kind of a marriage of the fans or content provider coming together and having shared ownership. It's a stronger connection, a longer lasting connection. That idea, and on top of the governance, the DENDAO and our governance function, within these channels, there could be functionality in the how the channels should be done or managed by the content creator. Ultimately, the content creator can limit how much he or she wants to put out there. That's possible. By to how much ownership do they want to share? But connecting ownership in a channel and connecting the DAO functionality that Den has and making it into a streaming world has a lot of potential. Again, it takes money to make money. And of course, then he says, number 3, we can do nothing and we could just continue down this path that we're on, where content rewards and prediction market focused, and it being much more of a text-based, world. And who knows, maybe that continues the death spiral in that we're not going to grow it. I don't know. But in his general thoughts, those are the 3 current options we have. Marketing our government's capabilities, adding video streaming with ownership, or 3, just do nothing. That is the conclusion of those who had made comments about, let's talk about Den's vision. And putting it back out there, I need your real solid ideas, some brainstorming. We need interaction that way. Let's not talk about what has failed or what has not failed. Yes, we can learn from that, but let's talk about ideas on how we get revenue, how we get investors, so that we can do these things. What should we work on? Should we make it just a software package that can be rolled up and sold to other people who need a DAO? There's certainly a large need for DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations that are borderless, where members of that organization live in different countries. And that's an important aspect of a DAO, right? I, again, commend and appreciate everyone who has made comments about this. I want to continue this conversation. I'm going to post maybe some options, some ideas on revenue generation for Den.Social. We can get that first revenue in here, then we can fix the payout. That's probably primary, right? So let's do that. Continue this conversation. Den.Social is not dead. It's not in a death spiral. We can turn this around. I believe in that. That is it for everybody for the meeting. Let me just double check and see anyone else has posted anything. Refresh, and no. All right. So thank you very much for your comments. And excuse me. for your comments, and I look forward to our many more discussions on how we fix this, how we grow this, how we generate revenue. All right. Until next week, take care.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.